One of the biggest questions that comes up in people who are considering becoming a celebrant is how easy it is to get work. And so I thought might be helpful to talk about that today in this video. And it's a really big question that's not easy to answer, because the truth is some celebrants find it really easy to get work, and other celebrants find it very difficult. And there are a number of reasons for that. But first of all, let's look at how celebrants get work. So it's March 2023, and I'm in Scotland, of course, because we're celebratory in Scotland. So please bear in mind that it might be different in different parts of the country, but this is how it works here. So when someone dies, by and large, one of the first things to happen is that a funeral director is involved. And that is usually within hours of somebody dying. And when that funeral director, when he or she goes out to visit the family and to remove the body, because that's usually what happens, the funeral director goes along and removes the body. And then they go back a short time later, at some point later, to talk with the family about what they would like. And during that conversation, they will ask about the service or the ceremony, and what kind of ceremony. Do they want it to be religious or non-religious? And from that conversation, the funeral director will say, okay, well, we can get you a celebrant. Unless the family says, we know who we want to use. We're going to use our minister, we're going to use our priest, we're going to use this celebrant. But by and large, the celebrant that will end up working with the family will not have been chosen by the family. They'll have been chosen by the funeral director. Now, I will be honest, I would like to see that changing, and for families to be choosing their own funeral celebrant. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that because funeral directors, and this is not a dig at funeral directors at all, it's just the way it's been working for a long time, but that doesn't mean to say because you've been doing something for a long time means you have to keep doing it, right? But funeral directors tend to work with a small group of celebrants, and it's celebrants that they like, or they know give a good service, and so they just kind of rotate them. But of course, that means there's this huge pool of celebrants that never get the chance to show that they're just as good. So that's one reason. But also because there's not really any other rite of passage that we would allow somebody else to choose who's going to do that for us. So if we think of, if you think about what a celebrant does, I like to say ceremonialist rather than celebrant, but ceremonialists help people to move through a period of significant change in their life. And if we look at the different rites of passage that we experience as part of this human journey, so from birth, a new life comes into the world. That certainly changes a parent's, the parents' lives. There's huge change involved. Well, everybody's lives, the parents, the siblings, the grandparents, and the world in general. There's this huge change has occurred. And so that's why parents will often choose to have some sort of ceremony to mark that occasion, to mark a new life coming into the world. And they might call it a baby naming ceremony, or a baby welcoming, or a baby blessing. But it's something that's marking this period of change in their lives. And their lives are never going to be the same again. And so a well-crafted ceremony there can help parents to navigate through that change. And then we have coming of age. Now, we're not great in the West having coming of age ceremonies, but the point that marks a young person's transition into adulthood. And I think it shows in the West that we're no good at that, because instead of having these really deep, profound, important initiations for our young people and having ceremonies where the community can come together and say, wow, that's you, you've reached adulthood, and we can't wait to see what you do with your life. We can't wait to see what you bring into our community, and we are so thrilled to have you as one of us. And we see the lack of that because our young people don't know how to navigate that change, and they end up turning to drink and to drugs and to alcohol and to having severe mental health problems. And then we've got the betrothals and the marriage ceremonies, where again there's huge change. There's a change in status, there's a change in lifestyle, there's a change in, and marriage ceremonies, betrothal ceremonies can help move a couple through that change. And then we've got the big one, the end of life, the funeral ceremony, arguably the most important ceremony that we can have. And yet, for all those other ceremonies, those are only a few that we could mention, but families always choose their own celebrant. We don't have somebody else saying, oh, this is who's going to do your baby naming, or here's who's going to do your wedding, or, here's who's going to do your betrothal ceremony. We choose them ourselves. We think about the type of ceremony that we want to have, and we go on and we Google and we look for celebrants, and we try and get a feel for who they are from their websites or watching their videos. And we see some, we think, no, don't like their style, don't like, oh, look, oh, that person, he or she, looks as if they might be a fit for us. Let's email them, let's phone them, So we do that in all these other areas, and yet when it comes to funerals, we entrust that decision to somebody else. And I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think families should be encouraged to choose their own, because here, at the very least, here's what it does. It gives them a wee bit of control, a sense of control when their whole world seems to be falling apart. And I would suggest, and of course this has not been tested in any research that I know of, but I would think that by giving families that sense of control and urging them to be a part of that process of choosing who's going to be entrusted with their loved one's end of life ceremony, I think that would go somewhat to helping them in the grief process. I'm going to put that out there. And if anybody wants to conduct a study on that, again, get in touch, because I'd love to be a part of that. But yes, so that's not how it happens at the moment. At the moment, funeral directors, by and large, choose what celebrant is going to be put with what family. And they often get that right because they're using good celebrants, but I still think that it should be put into the hands of the family. And that would be beneficial for funeral directors, because as somebody who trains celebrants, sadly, because part of the training, celebrants have to go and talk to funeral directors and to crematoriums, and I hear them coming back and saying, a funeral director said, oh, we're inundated with celebrants, they're always coming through the door, or oh no, another celebrant. Well, there's the solution. Take your hands off and say, we are asking our families to choose their own celebrants, because we want them to make sure that they're choosing the right person. And then funeral directors don't have to worry about celebrants coming through their door, because it'll soon stop. So there's lots of benefits there. And for anybody that would say, oh yeah, but families are grieving, they don't want to have to sit and Google, and they don't want to, that's because of the way that we approach death and dying in this country. But if we change that, if we encourage people to be involved, to be connected, to be a part of the process from start to finish, then that would change that. So that's one thing. But at the moment, it's funeral directors who are largely in charge of that decision. And so that means when celebrants finish their training, they have to go out and they have to visit with funeral directors, and they're kind of trying to sell themselves and say, this is who I am, this is what training I've done, if they've done training, because you don't have to do training to be a funeral celebrant in the UK. It's not regulated in that way, so anybody can set themselves up as a funeral celebrant. I wouldn't advise it, because the ones I've seen doing that tend to either they stay very narrow focused in their work, or they're very stressed because they just don't know how to keep on top of things and to put things together in the way that you learn through the training. But so you have to go out and visit funeral directors. And funeral directors will make a decision based on a number of factors, and likability will be a big one. Do they like you? Do they like what you're saying to them about who you are and your background and how you conduct your business and how you treat families and the examples of your work you have? So they will base their decisions on a number of factors, and some are a bit more discerning than others. You know, one of our recent celebrants was saying he went to visit a funeral director, and he was talking about training, and the funeral director said, oh, you don't need training, you just come and visit the funeral directors and, you know, we'll decide. I don't think that's helpful for people, because I think it shows when there's a lack of training, and conversely, I think it shows when celebrants have had really good training. I know not always, and not every celebrant that comes through Celebrant Training Scotland is going to be a top-notch celebrant. I don't kid myself that that's the truth. But what I do try and make sure is that everybody knows, everybody's given the foundations that they can build upon, that everybody is is held to a certain set of standards, the same standards I hold myself to, and that everybody's really encouraged to go out there and be the absolute best that they can be, and to learn from any mistakes they make, and to always be growing and developing, and etc, etc, etc. So, but here's the thing, some people are much more natural at going out and marketing themselves and selling themselves to other people, and so those people are more likely to get work, while other people find that so stressful, and they're so nervous, and they either end up not going out and visiting funeral directors, or they go out and they're such a bag of nerves that the funeral director's thinking, oh my goodness, I don't know that I would be happy introducing this person to a family if they're going to be so nervous. So that's a factor. Those are factors in whether you'll end up getting work or not. But location is a big factor as well. So if you are a celebrant in the middle of Glasgow, you're much more likely to get the chance of lots of work than if you're a celebrant, say, in the Isle of Skye or in the Outer Hebrides, where there are far fewer celebrant-led ceremonies. And so you have to think about where you are and what's around you, what funeral directors are around you, what crematoriums and graveyards are around you, because that can be a big factor. Persistence can be a big factor. So some celebrants will go out and see a funeral director once and say, here's my cards and here what I've done, blah, 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 blah. And then they don't hear anything from that funeral director, and they never go back. And they sort of see that as a lost cause. While as another celebrant would be going in there every couple of weeks, like, hi, remember me? I'm still here, and here's another couple of cards in case you've lost them, and I just wanted to update you because I'm doing this and I've done my first ceremony. And so they are always going out there and making those connections. Those people are much more likely to get work. And I always say, if you feel really drawn to this work and you feel you're supposed to be doing this work, I get lots of celebrants saying, I feel this is my calling, I feel this is my true vocation in life. And if that's true and you do feel that, then you have a responsibility to go out there and to make it happen. not going out there cap in hand, hope my funeral director's going to throw you a few crumbs. If you think like that, then that's going to stop you from getting work. But if you see that you have something to offer them, and that's what you're doing, you're going out saying, look, I've really got something to offer, and you should really talk to me. Then that's confidence is everything in this game. Confidence is everything in a lot of games, but certainly everything in this game. So you have to have that confidence, you have to have that self-belief that you do have something to offer, and then go out there and offer it. But also, I think celebrants, including me, could be doing a lot more to market ourselves to people in general, and to be trying to encourage people that if you lose somebody, if somebody dies in your life, you don't need to take a funeral director's recommendation. You can say, we are going to choose our own celebrant, and then you can go onto Google or come to our website, or talk to other people and say, I'm looking for recommendations, and choose your own celebrant. Because that way, for celebrants, it becomes an even playing field. Because if you're just out there on social media, on the internet, in real life, saying, this is who I am, I'm a ceremonialist, this is what I do, this is what I love, then the right people are going to be attracted to you. That's what I feel. The right people are going to be attracted to you and to your style and what you have to offer. So, is it easy getting work as a funeral celebrant? Yes and no. And I know that was a big convoluted answer, but all I can say is the majority of celebrants who train with Celebrant Training in Scotland do go on and get work. Some of them get loads of work, too much work for them to handle, and they have to say no. Some people get very little work, and there may be reasons around that. Some people get some work but not as much work as they would like, and so they might need to expand their area of funeral directors that they're talking to, and how they're marketing themselves on social media. And some people are getting just enough for what they want. So it very much depends. But if you come on the training and you do everything that's asked of you, and you follow the guidance that you're given, then there's absolutely no reason that you can't be out there doing this work. But I also encourage every celebrant out there to be educating people around them about choosing their own celebrants, so that we're putting the choice and the control in the hands of the family, and rather than in the hands of the funeral director. Right, I hope that's been helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.